talking about South American footy, Quinny. I think, and I'm gonna shoot myself in the foot here because I definitely haven't bought any yet. But Brazil is surely going to be the place to have some America players because they've got like 50 odd game weeks in 60 weeks or something ridiculous.
I've not
super concentrated. Their
Yeah,
fixture.
it is. It's mad.
I've not dived right into it yet, to be quite honest with you. I'm hoping to get some content done with SoRare Arge, and then I'm trying to get somebody in Brazil to come and do some stuff as well. But I was saying to Tex, like, you know, and again, this happened. I'm surprised I never spoke to any about it actually, but Man City are highly linked to signing a guy from Mineiro called Savio. And if you check him out on SoRare, he's got a picture, but no card. 17. And I've seen a text. I don't know if it made the cut of the video that we just did, but like, I want to really get into Brazil and Argentina because, like, I feel that whenever those guys leave their league and they go to Europe in particular, they're very regularly becoming first team players. And this is something that's happened for decades, you know, the last 10, 20 years. You hear about guys in the champion Euro divisions buying a guy from Brazil and he comes in and he's a starting right back, or they buy an Argentinian midfielder and he comes in and he's the starting midfielder for the team. So I think it can be a good region to kind of enter into some guy's career, especially you guys. You all love your under 23s, you know. Catching a guy like that, Savio, if he had a card, especially if it was a rookie card, imagine that. And then we've got the guy that just went to Juve. He's got a Juve card. I don't know how to say his name. It's something like Kyle.
Yeah. Jorge, yeah.
Yeah, and then there's a guy City signed last summer who's called like Kake or something like that. KK or something, you know. Those are the type of guys I want to start unearthing and getting stuck into. But they all need to have cards, first of all, so you can actually fucking pick them up.
It's nothing more frustrating seeing the player's face. You sort of, you load it and you're like, oh, the players, no, it's not good cards.
Yep, so if you're wet.
Loads of those in Austria. Hey, Josh.
Yeah, too many, mate. Yeah, absolutely.
I think so that's my main motivation for that. Sorry, just to say that.
No worries. So the exact figures are 66 possible game weeks between April 10th and November 15th. And with the Brazilian League and the Libertadores, it covers 51 of those 66 game weeks. And 5 of those game weeks that aren't covered are international weeks. So like there's literally, outside of internationals, only 10 game weeks in 66 where the Brazilian League doesn't have a game, basically. You know, the Brazilian teams don't have fixtures.
Grab yourself a goalkeeper because they seem to be the ones that don't rotate.
Exactly, yeah.
Well, I was looking at who was that? I was looking at the Corinthians young backup goalkeeper.
Oh, Cassio.
No, the other guy, but he started getting minutes. I was going to buy him just to buy him and hold him, but I think he got some minutes. His price is crazy mental. It's like Donnelly or something like that.
But his price is crazy mental because he's one of the highest rated goalkeepers on this year's Football Manager.
Yeah.
Oh, is he?
And he's got one of those super agents as well that's repping him at the moment, and he was getting linked. I think it was Benfica he was linked to in January. So it's definitely one to watch.
Yeah. He's only got 22 rares minutes. Yeah, the floor at the minute is 1.45 ETH. So that's good fun.
Well, it was like 0.7 last time I looked, so I'm feeling a bit regretful now that you've said that. But hey ho.
The price rise on under 23 goalkeepers when they start is, or even when they don't start and they get enough hype behind them is unbelievable.
Odoevsky for Zenit, I can't, like, he's trading now for like 0.25. Like, that is just ridiculous if you ask. Like, there's no way he starts. I'm going to get right egg on my face if Semak puts him in tomorrow night. But there's just no way.
Just wait, mate. This time in 48 hours, Ulmer hat-trick and Odoevsky starts, you know?
I just can't see. Like, the people are like, oh yeah, he could actually play against Betis. Like, this kid's played one game for Zenit in his whole career, which was a dead rubber at the end of last season. And they're going to throw him in a knockout Europa League fixture for the first time. I don't think so.
I don't see it either.
Not at all.
I think as well, I can't remember if it was you, Tekkers, but I was speaking to somebody, again, it may have been you, Josh, when you came and joined me and Harry. Can't remember who it was, but I ended up picking up a limited Kujakov this week, the rookie guy. I couldn't believe I couldn't believe a rookie keeper got minutes and it escaped my attention. I paid 0.15 for him. I know it's way too much, but I just had to get him in. Do you think he'll continue in ahead of Guilherme?
Yeah, Graham's back in training. No, he won't. I'd be surprised if he stays in goal.
I wasn't holding my breath on him, but I thought I'm just going to get him now.
Like, it's not bad. Like, in my opinion, he'll be loaned somewhere next. Like, it's not a bad hold. He's shown that he's like a decent enough RPL keeper despite his age. So, and like they're absolute gold dust, mate, because of the limit. Even with it being, so the limit in Russia is going up as of next season to 13 foreigners are now going to be allowed in the squad. So from 8 currently, it's going up to 13. But there is still a stipulation that you can only have 8 foreigners per match day team. So, per starting 11, sorry. Or let me recategorize. You can only have 8 foreigners on the pitch at one time.
Got you.
So Russian goalies will still be worth their weight in gold in Russia. Like there's, that every team is going to get foreign outfielders and leave a Russian in goal basically. So yeah, he'll get a loan maybe to a promoted side or to a non-established side. I think it sort of depends who goes in at Zenit really, and Loco with Guillaume getting old. Anyway, I'm ranting over Russian goalies now, and it's all
I started
speculative.
I started it. Don't worry, bud. But yeah, so as I say, I've just been looking forward to this period of the fixture calendar for so long, and part of that reason is I always expect, not on game week 248, because I think history's told us that it's not going to be an overnight thing, but certainly when we get to game week 250, game week 252, I would hope and expect the prize pools to be appealing, more generous than what we've ever seen them, because at every point so the last time the fixture calendar and the reward pool subsequently should have been as generous was like November, October, September kind of time. Since then, we've had a few more things licensed on. We've had some more new seasons. Obviously, we've still got new seasons to come, hopefully in March, April, May from different places. So my hopes and ambitions is partly linked in with the fact that the prize pools should, logically speaking, get a bit better to play in.
It's not.
What do you think about that?
I'm sorry to completely.
I don't think it will be 248 either, but
yeah.
Subsequently from there.
From what I've noticed, and I am that crazy fool that looks at the numbers every week and, decides how I'm going to play my teams based on the numbers, and also has a good old moan about it on Twitter. There seems to be a 2-week lag, basically. I've had a theory for a while that they are manually adjusting based on historic scores. And when I say historic scores, I literally mean the 1 and 2 weekends before. Because I noticed recently that they adjusted positively Champion Europe after there was a run of 2 weeks of Champion Europe. For a T3, it spiraled to like 360, which is what we saw last week with under 23. Yep. So we haven't seen really an upgrade this weekend for under 23, particularly in the context of J and K League coming back on. I think we'll see improvement in the under 23s next weekend, because it seems to be that there's this sort of 2-week lag where they're adjusting and calibrating based on what they see, which I do appreciate to an extent, because we are going through a rapid period of growth. There's lots of new managers. It is changing. I would like to see sort of more understanding of, the composition of the teams, which they could, forecast in advance. But hey, there does seem to be progress. I think they dropped the ball under 23s last week, but I think there is signs of progress. So I think realistically, mark your calendars for game week 252, because I think that's when they'll sort of see the impact of 248 and 250, which, looking at this tracker, this weekend 246, we have about approximately 180 licensed teams playing. In 248 and 250, that jumps up to over 230. Wow. It's big old jump. So, logic would suggest that the prizes go, but I think there will be, just so we don't hype everyone up too much, and come the opening of game week 248, Discord burns down in flames. I think it's probably going to be 252 realistically before we see a true impact.
Yeah, I would agree and hope so. What about you guys? Pires, what's your thoughts?
Do you remember years and years ago, that was that World Cup and they had Paul the Octopus? Do you remember?
Yeah, the German World Cup.
Yeah, I think they've got a pet octopus or a pet frog or something in the office. And what they do is they go and get loads of, the bingo balls with the different numbers on, and I think they throw it into the pool with the octopus or frog or whatever it is, and that is what determines the numbers. because over the last couple of months, it has been a bit like I think Josh, you described it as just a random number generator half the time, isn't it? It's just whatever they fancy spewing out, really. But no, they've acknowledged it on Discord recently that they're looking into it. So hopefully it improves. And like Tekkers said, that the amount of teams playing, you'd hope there's more than 180 rewards in under 23 D4. But to be fair, all the other regions did improve, didn't they, last week? Attackers by like 10-15% across the board.
Yeah, they did, and I honestly I think that if under 23 had responded in line with the changes in the other divisions, nobody would have had any issue. I think whatever they set the prize pools at, that's their prerogative. I think what I've got frustrated about and what I feel most people get frustrated about is how erratic it is and stuff that just doesn't make sense. Like no one's ever explained it. So, you added Bundesliga last week, you added Argentina, which improved Challenger and All-Star, but it didn't improve under 23 or America. And when you say, okay, well, logic would suggest that you have those players are across multiple divisions, regions, surely that they would have a similar impact. And I think that's the frustration for a lot of people is sometimes it just seems very, very erratic. And I think the issue with under 23s last week was like it just didn't make sense and nobody could explain it at all. If nothing had risen, then it would have been like, okay, cool, that's the prize pool for this week. But it was because the other divisions rose with the addition of the new leagues, or the perception that was because of the addition of the new leagues. It could have just been that they are waiting a couple of weeks to see what happens, and the other rises were literally because Challenger and Global have been really competitive in the last couple of weeks, and they're like, oh, we'll wait until Austria and J League and K League have had a couple of weeks until we know what we need to do on that front. But I think it's just generally it just doesn't make sense, and nobody from SoRare have been able to explain it, which is why we get the perception of the random number generator. The one thing that I have seen that I think is fairly positive, again, people will have their opinions on this. I have noticed in recent weeks that there appears to be a shift of prizes to the regions from Global All-Star. So Challenger has increased, Champion has increased, Global All-Star has increased, but it's increased in line with other metrics. There does appear to be a reallocation of awards from Global to Challenger and Champion, which I personally like. The reason I like it is because Global All-Star has threshold, so you've always got a fallback there, so you don't necessarily, I think, need as long a tail of prizes because more people are getting a chance to win something with the threshold. And I think it helps minimize the jump required to go from, hey, I'm winning threshold, yay, brilliant, where do I go next? And where do you go next is, oh, I'm going to build a team for the regions. And if building a team for the regions needs you to score 350 points, then it's going to take a major investment. Whereas if it's more like 330 points, it's like, oh, you know what, that's actually quite achievable in a good week. But realistically, and the reason why I say this is because 330 you could get with a clean sheet, a couple of decisives. 350 you need players with decisives and a good AA game, and those players are super expensive. So that's why I think there's quite a big difference between 330 points for a T3 and 350, is because 350 plus you need players that if they score a goal they're going 70 80 points plus, which actually is quite rare, particularly in forwards, and those players are super expensive. So I like the rebalancing because I feel that it aids progression. Someone please feel free to disagree with me. This is just my personal opinion, but I personally like what I'm seeing in that regard.
I noticed.
I agree. Go on, Quinny. Sorry, I'll cut across.
What I was going to say is, I normally do, like the last couple of weeks, I've done a little kind of stream or some sort of video when the game week opens, just kind of doing my teams the first time around, having a wee glance at the prize pools, all that kind of fun stuff. And I went to do it on Tuesday. And I've still got the footage. In fact, I've not released it, but because I started going through the prize pools and everything, and I thought, I went through them all, and I was like, yeah, this prize pool looks really good. It's 10-star rares here, and all the tier 3 pools kind of shit. And I went through them all, and it wasn't until I got into under 23 Pro and I seen how bad the rewards were there, and even under 23 rare, just rare itself, as you guys have been mentioning, I was like, ooh, yeah, this division is it's definitely out of whack with the rest of them. But I thought all my first impressions with Champion, All Star, and was there another one? No, Champion and All Star in particular. I thought that the top end prizes, if you're still going to be finishing top 10, top 20, top 30, the prizes were all kind of okay. But then when I got to under 23, I was like, oh yeah, this is absolutely way out of sync with everything else. And I thought, right, I better stop what I'm doing here in case I'm misinterpreting stuff, and checked Twitter and Discord, and everything was popping up. I was just going absolutely crazy about it. And I thought, I better not release that video of me being really happy with the rest of the prizes, because everyone's obviously so raging under 23s. I don't want it to look like a shot across the bow.
I saw it and immediately chose to play my best under 23s in Challenger.
Yeah.
And that's what I found hilarious, was like people coming at me on Twitter the last couple of days being like, oh, you're only complaining because you didn't win. I was like, no, but I did win. I saw the information and I played my players in somewhere else, but I still think that it was out of sync. So I find that sometimes quite funny that not everyone looks into it in the same way that we look into it. But I think it's a competitive advantage with regards to playing. Like, we are deploying our cards each week and we want to put them in places where it's going to give us the best chance. And I think, that's it. We'll always react to the prize pool that's put in front of us. But I think it's still fair to question when something just it looks out of character, it looks out of sync, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, definitely agree. I think going back to your saying, Tekkers, about redistributing the rewards like outside global to regions, I think that can only be a positive because it also furthers people's progression. Like at the minute, it's very easy just to sit in gas rare and churn ETH out each week, and that's fine. Like if that's what you want to do, that's fine. But the people that do that, I think, also have the outside thought of, oh, I might win a reward as well. And actually, if it becomes more difficult to win rewards in gas rare, I'm not saying this is what they should do, but if it does, then it might tempt more people to go out into the regions and build region-specific teams to try and progress their galleries and win rewards, basically.
Absolutely, because I think that's a key part of progression. I think it's very, very difficult to go up to Rare Pro, and it doesn't really make sense to go up to Super Rare at the moment with how the prizes have been for the past few months. So for me, progression is the biggest element of progression for people at the moment is people that are playing literally threshold only and giving the opportunity to progress to the other divisions. And I feel that this does that. Some people might like that it's all concentrated in global. You just got to run one team and hope for the best. But I sort of personally think for the benefit of progression, having more appeal in building a team for the regions is a good thing overall for the platform.
Yeah, no, definitely agree.
My kind of gut instinct, see, when you said that a minute ago, it makes me think that obviously they've got a preference to reward the players that are actively playing. That's something they established a while ago. Is they want people to win cards that they can use sooner rather than later, kind of thing. So with the European season, like, it's not at the end, but the end is certainly closer than the beginning. Maybe that's a way of them safeguarding how many European rewards can be issued for the next 2 or 3 months by taking the majority of them and putting them into their native region rather than allowing global to have such a huge, kind of volume of those territories in their pool. If that makes sense. I don't know if I said that properly, but I hope you get me.
Honestly, I think it might be a reaction to the competitive nature, particularly of Challenger and Champion, because there's been some weeks where it has been super competitive to win. And, I know I sort of said it briefly earlier, but if scoring 350 points to win a T3 becomes literally the bottom of the barrel, T3 becomes a regular occurrence, and I can see a lot of people just giving up because it's quite that's the very, very impressive week with players that have had a very good AA game and got decisive, and your captain's nailed probably 90 plus. So I think that it's perhaps been a conscious decision to try and rebalance that and give people more opportunity, because otherwise all you do is lock in the prizes for, there's some people that have got very good cards very early and they can just keep running them and yielding very, very well at that top end, but it makes it very difficult to break into that if you can't grab a T3 here, grab a T3 there, sell that, build your team. So I think that it's potentially a conscious decision around seeing what had been happening with the increase in competition,
That would be
knowing that the
reassuring.
threshold is a fallback. Like, I don't think you can play, like, when people are like, oh, the chances of winning in global are this. I'm like, well, it's not that, because the amount of people that win, like, threshold is winning. Like,
Yeah.
I've won some cards in the region that have been worth less than thresholds. So, threshold is a win, and it's liquid as well. So it's like, I find it really odd when people overlook that, because it's one of the best return on investments on the game, in my opinion.
Agreed.
Yeah, I think with as well, like some of the T3s you can win are like less valuable than the bigger threshold also. So I just don't see how people can complain for like, and I think McBride was saying on Twitter the other day about how the lower threshold is easy to get. And he's like dead right. If you have 5 players that start, it's actually really difficult not to get 205 points. Like, you've got, what is it, 180 off the bat if they all start. So,
With multiple
getting a
players and a captain.
positive. Yeah, well, yeah, I'm with your captain. Yeah, exactly. So, there'll be more. So, it's just, it is it is easy. And it wouldn't, I don't know if this is me just because I'm not really bothered about getting threshold, and that makes me sound like a bit of a twat. But if I don't know, like if it would be better if they like upped the threshold points, like if that was more sustainable for them. Like they've always banged on about how the threshold is not the most like sustainable thing to keep giving out. But I'm not really sure.
The only time I heard them saying that, to be fair, was when ETH was breaking all-time highs every 2
Yeah,
days,
true,
and the user base was running away at the same time, and they were obviously looking at their balance sheets and going, "Shit, if this keeps up, we're going to be paying out £1,000 of threshold to each person."